Welcome to Perspectives on APQP4Wind. In this series, we explore how APQP4Wind is applied in practice and how it can benefit your company by sharing insights from suppliers, OEMs and developers from across the wind industry. And today we'll focus on the developer perspective. And I'm pleased to welcome our two guests, Gert Kragh-Jakobsen from Ørsted and Sonny Gajhede from Vattenfall. Welcome and thank you for joining us. To begin with, could you briefly explain or introduce yourself and your experience with APQP4Wind? Gert, if you would start.
Yeah, as said, I'm Gert. I'm from Ørsted and I'm in the position as a category Q&A manager. Beside that, I'm also the chairman of the board of APQP4Wind. I have approximately 40 years of work life experience in different industries, and of those 40 years, it's 22 years in the wind industry. Before the wind industry, I was in the aerospace and also in the railway, and touched a little bit to the automotive and is IATF size 16949 auditor. I experienced by the other industries how much they actually can manage the quality in the processes by actually having these methodologies, the APQP methodology across their value chain. And the experience I have with APQP is mainly from how we in the automotive, when I were there, and in the railway and the aerospace have actually similar standard that actually have been part of that.
Sonny, over to you. Could you tell us about your role and your journey with APQP4Wind as well?
So I am leading the solar batteries onshore and offshore quality product delivery team at Vattenfall. It's about 28 years within quality work. 2001, I started working for Tetra Pak. It's a global leading packaging material company. It has absolutely nothing to do with wind nor automotive. However, this company was the very first company I worked for adapting automotive methodologies throughout the whole value chain, so to speak. And that really opened my eyes to, okay, quality is not just ISO certificates and stuff. It is also very much about optimization and keeping the business in a really good condition. When I left Tetra Pak, I started out as a consultant, so I've spent 10 years together with well-known turbine manufacturers, many of their suppliers, and in parallel, many of the Danish suppliers for the automotive industry. So mainly my APQP experience is from that business, and APQP is originally from automotive and 50 years, I think now. So yeah, well-known, well-proven concept, so to speak.
Thank you both. And now, Gert, how would you explain APQP4Wind in a few words?
APQP4Wind, if we take the abbreviation word by words, it's advanced product quality planning. So by itself, it says that it's something that you do in advance of other things. It's a methodology that is around the product, and it's a methodology that is very much looking into how to plan things for the best result of the outcome. The quality in this is coming in because when fulfilling all the different phases in the concept, you actually deliver to a very high quality. So that means each step is defined by deliverables that secure that the quality is in place. So the outcome of utilizing all the 7 phases will result in a very high product that have a high quality and ready for serial production. So that is what I expect at our see that the APQP is more or less a self-explaining methodology that actually is securing that we can do a good and proof start of serial production. But also one-off production. So it's a even though it says product, it's also in relation to services and service provision, because when we look at the ISO, it's the terminology of a product is the outcome of a business process. So therefore, it actually can cover both, and it shall cover both, and can be able to do so today.
And Sonny, from your perspective, what does a common standardized approach to quality mean for you as a developer?
In general, I would say that having a very standardized way of working, APQP, means that we are singing the same song, so to speak. So we would always know what to expect from our suppliers. They will know what to expect from us. We have a very standardized, very disciplined way of working. There should not be any surprises. We do not have to reinvent the wheel, rethinking methods, etc. And that our experience is that we get somehow faster on the path towards our results. We're being more efficient, we're being more effective. Efficient would typically mean that we always, it goes the same for Gert. We are always under time pressure. So having this very standardized, disciplined way of work will optimize or utilize the time much better throughout this whole period of time. In terms of being more effective, it's, as you also said, Gert, it's definitely having a more reliable end product. And that is, that's why we do all this quality stuff, is to try to continuously eliminate variation, defects, deviations, you name it, to simply have a better product at the end.
And Gert, how does APQP4Wind help reduce risk and improve transparency early in a project?
If we go back to that, the APQP concept is based on 7 phases, and each of the phases is containing different elements that they need to be as deliverables from one phase to another. Each of these elements that are in each of the phases is actually a little bit containing risk management. I'm not saying a little bit, some is actually containing a lot, but each of those is taking a little part of the risk management that adding it all up is giving the complete picture of how is the risk done. The transparency in this is when you start documenting it, when you are talking about it, and you make it up to people's eye height, what is it actually that is the concern, then you also start dealing with it. And then you actually can document what is it you're doing to mitigating that from occurring. The advanced part of this is when you're doing it before you're entering into next phase, then you are preventing things from escalating. So one risk could escalate to a bigger risk if you're continuing with that risk. So in that sense, the risk management is in the elements, and that's also where the quality is, because if you are delivering according to the different phases from one phase to another phase, then you are securing that the quality of what you deliver into the next in line is also very high, and thereby they can continue their work and actually minimize risk and deliver high quality. So it's all about risk management, but it's also about openness and the transparency. Talk open about it between the customer and the supplier, but also if you have a third-part certifier included in that exercise. So everyone is aware, because everyone have knowledge about what can be done to prevent things from being a risk. And that's where the cross-functional team comes in, because everyone can contribute to mitigate risk. So that's how I see that it's ending up being a huge spider web of risks that are being managed and ending up at the end with a good, solid product that can be set into operation or being start up as a serial production.
Yeah.
And if I can just pick up on the word transparency that you mentioned several times, Gert. I mean, if we as a developer are to have confidence in our suppliers, we need to have that transparency. And it's not only us as developers, it's the customer-supplier relationship. That is one of the basic philosophies of APQP4Wind, that we need to have confidence in what we do, and confidence only comes with transparency.
And let's talk more about that dynamic. Could you share both a situation where APQP4Wind improved your collaboration with a supplier? Sonny, if you could continue.
Yeah, we have this supplier for huge offshore projects we have ongoing. This supplier, I mean, bought in on APQP more or less from day one, realizing the benefits, the opportunities, the possibilities, having this very standardized, disciplined way of working. This collaboration with this supplier here has significantly improved the efficiency. Time will tell if it is also effective at the end, but efficiently wise, it looks like that we are now having a more, we have more confidence that we will reach our deadlines in due time because of this way of working. So it's a very strong collaboration between the supplier and us, but it has benefits in terms of our relationship with suppliers, but it has also significantly improved the internal collaboration. So us as a quality department, we are not just there as some support or something on the side. It's really involving the other disciplines of the organization, engineering, design, construction, procurement, in how we work on this. I think many of our colleagues were actually surprised to find out that this APQP is not some quality control stuff at the end. It's actually as you explained, Gert, it's the early phases of taking risks and opportunities into consideration, early phase. And that is,
Yeah. And Gert, could you also describe a time when APQP4Wind helped strengthen the collaboration with a supplier?
Yeah, and I'll bring two examples, which are actually ending up being one. When we started up the pilot, the first pilot in Ørsted with utilizing APQP, we internally have this cross-functional setup that we actually started up with a workshop for doing the DFMA. Actually everyone realized how good exercises were because we were a cross-functional team. We were able to come with input in how to mitigating the risk, but also coming in with the data, the lesson learned from previous projects. So we actually included that into the exercise and got that documented as well, because the outcome was a documented exercise we did where we actually derived the specific characteristics that we saw that were on the design, that we now could be able to hand over to a supplier that were to produce that item we were having the workshop around. And then the second part of that success were that when we actually have the supplier pointed out for the ones to deliver the scope of work, we choose one that actually were mature according to APQP and thereby have the compliance to the different phases. And we saw when we start the collaboration with those, and we have a specialist on their side with, of course, have when they are already a member of it, and we also have a specialist on our side, start working with the APQP concept. They immediately started up working in the workbook, and using the different templates and in the workbook, and actually documenting the things, starting up, building the plan, putting in all the special characteristics, and start the PFMA based on this. So there was so little time used to actually talk about what is it actually we are to do, what interpret the employer's requirement, and all these different other things that we have been used to, but started up working in the concept based on the manual and the workbook. So that was really good to see how that could get that up in speed.
Yeah. And could you go more into depth about what value does APQP4Wind bring to you in your everyday work?
The value as such is when now we're in the planning phase of doing a lot of things for the future, and being able to do the calculation, which have been, you know, a lot of things are being talked about. When you have a design failure, it's a factor of 100 when you're on the ocean. But actually, when we are utilizing the APQP concept, we are now doing, let's say, an opposite calculation, seeing how much can we avoid in the total cost of quality by actually doing it like this. So do that calculation and actually see that 100 hours spent on control on product could be changed to 1 hour spent in a process review and validation to see if that is giving the right outcome, and then you can eliminate, let's say, the 100 hours of control afterwards. So that's the value we are currently in calculating in Ørsted. But of course, it takes that you can count on that you go the other way around from the 100 hours spent to 1 hour, or the 100 hour used to 1 hour spent in that exercise.
So now we have talked about the benefits of applying APQP4Wind, but are there any challenges for developers to implement APQP4Wind?
Yeah, not necessarily just a challenge as a developer, but I think in general having most cases APQP would be a change in mindset. Having this very early phase involvement of quality activities in the organization is most cases a change in mindset. And I would say that typically it's the quality organization picking up APQP and wanting to implement this. And obviously top management and colleagues out there in the organization does not just buy in on APQP like this. So there's a challenge in convincing top management that this is the way to go. When this has happened, there's a challenge in terms of communicating this, promoting this new way of working, updating management systems and so on. That leads to a challenge in terms of, do we have enough organizational maturity, competencies, etc. So it's challenges that comes in step and kinds of follows management of change happening in the organization. And just to mention perhaps the last challenge, and that's more than this, but it's not always the fact that we face a supplier, like I mentioned before, just buying in immediately. Sometimes we need to spend time discussing if this is something we should do together. And I mean, we prefer to talk about how we do it, but we definitely have a challenge in certain areas of the wind industry really seeing the purpose of APQP for their type of business, like installation, service, and so on. And I mean, it takes a while for at least some of our suppliers realizing that this APQP is not about, it's not specific for any type of business. It's common sense that has been proved to be successful for many years. And if you just kind of look at it from the perspective how could this benefit our business instead of just as a start, no, this is not something for us, it's only for turbines or whatever. So that's some of the challenges.
Finally, how do you both see APQP4Wind evolving in the future? Sonny, if you could start.
Yeah, and this is my personal view on it. I would really like to see that APQP4Wind becomes the one and only way of working in terms of quality early phase. Automotive, they have 16949. All the APQP stuff is originally from automotive. They've been doing that for many, many years. I hope we will not need as many years to make this a success in the wind business, because then there would perhaps be no wind business if we continue to do as we do. But I really hope that everyone in the wind business, and perhaps even in renewables in general, is part of this APQP4Wind, it's called. I also hope to see some kind of maturity certificate on a 1 to 5 scale or something like that, where we could have some third party verifying the maturity out there at suppliers, at Ørsted, at Vattenfall, everywhere out there, in order to not to exclude anyone from you do not have enough maturity, so we don't want to do work with you, but to have a better planning on how we execute projects and so on, because we always need to take that into consideration, that if we engage with low maturity suppliers, it adds risks, potential costs, and so on. So having better basic conditions to plan and execute projects, it would be nice to have this openness in terms of APQP maturity.
Yeah. And Gert, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, seen in the history, 5 years is not much, but I think 5 years is what we have to get the industry back on track, so to say. And I think what I see APQP being able to do is actually bring quality back in the business as the business enabler, because actually that is what it can do to a company. We have seen it in the automotive, as Sonny also mentioned many times. It's very short time from the start a new development of a new type of car and until we can see it on the market. And that's because they are using this standardized way of doing things. Everyone knows what to do. It will also minimize time to market. We see a lot of the car makers are making a lot of serial productions, but the money they used for do rework and it's very, very small percentage of the total cost they have. So that's where I see also APQP4Wind will actually be able to do that in our industry before we actually are being overruled by other energy systems that we can see are being pushed into the conversation in different macro political discussions at the moment.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, and thank you for watching. We hope that you find this conversation both meaningful and informative. If you want to learn more about the APQP4Wind journey or how you can join our community as company member, please visit our website apqp4wind.org, and don't forget to check out the other interviews in this series to get more perspectives from across the wind industry. Thank you.